one who's going to be at the service. We thank the Lord and bless us for another day. Let's remember all the prayer requests have been made. If you have your Bibles and you'd like to read with me, I'm going to read from the book of James. Begin with James chapter 3. I'll say that at least we're going to turn there. I think get started on some subject matters, maybe look at a number of other different passages as we move along and try to get at least something on our mind. Remind us of things really that we already know, things we've heard before. But I think it's the Lord that we at least be reminded again. I feel like this is the direction the Lord has us to try to go. We won't talk about our tongue and the things we say. All of us, I'll say this before I start, all of us have some trouble with that. All of us need to be reminded and need to be very careful with that. We understood the danger and I guess the influence of it, we would be even more careful. But coming back now to the book of James, notice to begin with, I'll start in chapter 3. We're going to look at some other passages as we move along. James, as he begins writing here, he said, "My brethren, be not many masters, knowing that we shall receive the greater condemnation." I feel like I know something he's saying here. And when he's talking about masters, I think he's talking about a master, what he's doing, a teacher. One that's able to teach, one that's able to proclaim to others. And if I understand what he's saying here, he's saying, don't be too hasty about just wanting to be in that position. Because one thing you can know is you're going to be judged more harshly in that position than you are if you're not in that position. You've heard the statement made before about maybe deacons and preachers. I've heard this mentioned as ordination. Then now you live in a glass house. What it's saying is everything you do, everything you people are going to be watching. A lot of times they're watching to see what they can find wrong. And so be very careful of that. That's what I believe James is saying. Here's something to that effect. And even those that do teach the Word of God undertake to do that need to be very careful what they say about it, that they don't add anything to it or take anything from it, because understanding those that are in a position to maybe teach others, or when they face even judgment of God, they're going to be judged more severely and a greater condemnation if they failed in that than those that didn't. So when I look at that, he doesn't tell people not to be involved in that, but I think that is the teaching and whatever, a place of leadership, let me just say it that way. But he's saying for those that are there to be aware of the fact that you are in a different position, you'll be held different, a different standard, not only by men, but evidently by God as well. So but he goes on and says, "For in many things we offend all. If any man offend not in word, the same is a perfect man, able also to bridle the whole body." He said, as we all go through life, there's times we offend people in a lot of different ways. But he said, but if a man could come to the place that he could not offend in word, or not offend and do harm by what he said, he said that person, if he's come to the place to do that, he's able to control the whole body. Now we deal with the whole body. We have to keep it under control. The whole body's it's a lustful nature. If we don't control the nature of it, this would bring us harm and hurt. It'll destroy us. It'll bring hurt in a lot of different ways. But the tongue is the most difficult member of our body there is to control. And really, when you come back and look at it, there's a reason for it. It's not the tongue really within itself. And when he's talking about the tongue, he's talking about the article of speech. But the trouble is, it's the mind. The tongue speaks what's in the mind. Is what happens there. It's what our mind's about. Really what we are, what we make known. Our tongue reveals that. Be very careful with that. So it's what he's saying, because it can do great damage. Damage to others, damage to the work of the Lord, damage brings problems in families, brings problems at home. How we do things and what we say. And be very careful, because when you say things, it's kind of like I read a little article one time, and I don't remember how long ago it was. I tried to remember to tell my grandsons this when they began to hunt a little bit. Granddaughter, she tries to hunt a little bit too, about a gun and about bullets. That every time you fire that gun, that bullet belongs to you. And whatever it does, you're responsible for it. If it goes into somebody's house, that's your fault. If you hit somebody or somebody's car, that's your fault. Because you're in control of that, nobody else is. And if you remember that, then it'll probably change the way you use that gun. And nothing wrong with the gun, but the gun is just a piece of equipment, the way you use it. Well, it can bring hurt. If it is, you're responsible for it. And remember that. With every bullet, you own every one of them. And if you stop and think about that, it's a cage. But we own the words we speak, don't we? And whatever damage you do, we own the tongue. We can use it. If we bring about hurt with it, it's going to be there. We have to deal with that. And it has to, we can't get away from it. And all of us have a tendency for that. Every one of us, we'll read more about that. But I want to go back to chapter 1 with you just a moment about our tongue. What we're taught in Scripture is you can't tame it. Have a lot of trouble controlling it. But we need to learn to control it. He said in verse 26 of chapter 1, let me say this before I go to verse 26. Drop back to verse 20. Verse 20 says here, I think this has probably been one of the things, I guess, in my life that's probably dealt me more trouble than probably a lot of other folks. But he said, for the wrath of man worketh not the righteousness of God. And the way I'm going to put that in my own words is to tell you this about it, that what a person does or says when they're mad, real angry, usually you'll regret it all. It won't serve to the glorifying of God. So if a person can come to place when they're real angry, if they could just be real quiet right then, they'd be a whole lot better off. And that's been the case to me, I know, in the years. There's a lot of things I said, if I could take the words back, I would. That's the problem. Once you say them, you can't take them back. They're gone. And wherever they go, you can't really control where they go. That's the other side of it. You can't control where they end up. It winds up being said. People tell things, and a lot of times it's slanted. It takes a different tone. Once you've said it, when it's told again, it doesn't always stay the same. So we need to be aware of those things and be very much in control, try to be in control of our tongue and what we say. He said in verse 26 of the book of James, if any man among you seem to be religious, to be religious is to appear to be sanctimonious and to do the things relating to church work. I guess you could say it that way. Be involved and look like to have your heart and mind in the things relating to the things of God and God's work. Well, that's what it means to be religious. There's a lot of difference in religion and salvation now. First, a person has to be really saved. You can be religious without being saved, but not truly religious. But if you're saved and truly religious, then he said, what he's saying is, if a man's going to be religious, the first thing he needs to do is to bridle his tongue. Because he said if a man doesn't bridle his tongue and keep it under control, he said he deceiveth his own heart, and this man's religion is vain. You might be ever so religious, you might be ever so involved with church work, you might be there every time the door's open. It might be that every time something's said, you have some input about every biblical position, and yet if you don't control your tongue, all that becomes vain. I think I've seen some examples of that as years go by. I'll be kind of vague, try to with this. But I remember one man in particular. He was a good man, and I guess he's about as faithful in church as probably anybody. Not only that, he's probably more zealous than as far as getting out visiting and inviting people to church and trying to get people to come to church and helping people in the community that need help. He's probably more zealous about that than probably one more so than anybody I've ever known. But his other problem was, he had another problem along that done a lot of hurt, what he was able to do. And that was, he just had a tendency to talk and to talk too much. And he did it in the wrong places at that. Sometimes what he was saying was the truth. He didn't went too far from where he lived and from the church to a little town. And what happened most of the time on Sunday nights, a lot of times on maybe Wednesday night, he'd take his family, they'd leave church and go to this little hamburger joint there and eat. And right there, in front of everybody there, everything he didn't like had happened, and he's pretty sensitive about what he liked. It was kind of easy to stir him up about things, and he had a loud voice. He was mouthy with all that. I can't say much about that, but nonetheless, that's what he wanted. And he discussed every issue in church that he didn't like, everything he thought was wrong, right there in public, in front of everybody. And everybody he didn't like, or whatever they said, he didn't like their action. And this just went on and on. And I did have the opportunity to talk with him on one occasion. I don't think it changed anything. But I told him one day, he wanted to know why in the world can't you get people to come to church? I said, well, everybody knows you heard what you said about the church all out in the public. I said, if they believe what you said, there's no reason they want to come. Well, you've done more harm yourself. What you said about everybody, no wonder you can't get people to come to church. I said, you've exposed every problem, every fault you've ever seen, and you've done it publicly where everybody's heard it. And I said, what happens is those people here, they tell everybody else. I said, you've probably done more hurt than you've ever done good. And he really agreed with that. He said, pray for him, you could help you do better than that. I understand. And that's a feeling you should have. But the point I'm making, and I'm not just on his case altogether, but trying to at least make a point with what we can do. And that is, we could be ever so religious, but if we can't bridle our tongue, then what we do, and come to a place after a while, we destroy our testimony. We destroy the good we could do. We need to be very careful of that. And he really meant good by what he said. A lot of times he's telling the truth about how people were, and maybe what they were saying and doing. But the end result of it was, it sure wasn't serving to the well-being of himself nor the church. And the next thing it didn't serve well for, in the long run, was to his own family either. Because what he done, he downed everybody in the church. And when his children got grown, they didn't want to come back there. That's all they've heard about everybody in the church, and all the faults they had, and all the things that had been done, and all the hurt, and how bad it was. And a bunch of hypocrites, and that's all the children heard about all their life. Why in the world then they got to where they could make a choice of their own? Why did they want to come to church then? At least a place where that was how he felt about him. That's how, maybe a lot of truth in some of it. I wouldn't say there wasn't some truth in some of what was said, but nonetheless, we stop and see who we are and where we are. And we can down everybody else. But the other side of it is we better stop and take a look at ourselves too. And I think that's taught in Scripture as well. I remember just simply growing up, Daddy had a statement. I didn't understand much about it when I was just a boy growing up. He made it on different occasions. I wouldn't say often, but all along. And after I got older, I realized a little more of what he was saying. Go back and maybe weigh this thing out. He said that scandal was half boast, and boast was half scandal. You stop and think about that for a moment. What in the world is he saying? He said when you're downing someone, scandalizing them, half of what you're doing is bragging on yourself. In other words, I'm not guilty of all they do. They this, they that. Look at me. I'm not there. That's half of what you're doing. The other side of it is when you're boasting and bragging on self, you halfway down in everybody else, aren't you? In other words, I'm not guilty of all the things they're guilty of. So you stop and think about that a little bit, and when that's the case, it kind of gets you, then which way do you go and what do you say? You have to be careful what you say. Either way, if you're not careful, you're downing somebody but bragging about yourself. And none of us need to brag about ourselves. We don't really have a lot of room to boast in ourselves. If we compare ourselves with God, all of us have failed, haven't we? Every one of us. And when it comes to that tongue, we've all just, we let it get away a lot of times and fail to say the things in every case we should. The Bible tells us, we need to weigh out our words and be careful what we say. Not only that, we need to be slow to speak and swift to hear. Most of the time, we're swift to speak and slow to hear. What we're ready to hear right off before we ever stop and think about what's being said, the effects of this, and what's going to be the end result of it. A lot of times, we speak early on this, and speak before really it's time. A lot of times, speak before it's really wise. I think probably every one of us has some tendencies for that. I remember also Daddy made a statement on a number of occasions, especially he said whenever something really makes you mad, before you say or do anything, count to 10, real slow. But I didn't tell you I done that. I didn't tell you he did that every time. But nonetheless, it was still good advice, though, isn't it? You stop and think about that. It would have saved me a lot of heartache, a lot of hurt, and probably a lot of other people as well. But didn't necessarily do it, but it's good advice. James went on and said, pure religion and undefiled before God and the Father is this. If you don't know what it means to be religious, it's to visit the fatherless and the widows in their affliction and to keep himself unspotted from the world. So if you want to be a religious person, then visit the people that's in trouble and having problems, the fatherless, the orphans, and the people in trouble, and the widows. Visit them and help them if you want to be religious. And try to help them walk close to the Lord, help them and the people that face the problems and the troubles of life. Whatever the problems might be, whatever they're down, because God try to lift them up. If you want to be religious, then encourage them. A lot of us like to think we're ever super religious and ever more pious, and yet we don't do the things that's necessary to be there. And then a lot of times we talking that also then brings about hurt. I want to go back to the Old Testament with you 2 or 3 places. Just notice some things said here. First of all, let me go back to the book of Psalms. Psalms 37, I believe it is. 39, rather. 39 and 1. I may mention about the man that would go and have a lot, maybe to stay in. There's a little hamburger joint. And what he said might not have been wrong. But really, if he had that kind of problem with the people, who should he have told? If there was a deacon there that he didn't like, the deacon was a hypocrite and was being destructive to the work of the Lord, was he to tell all the people down in the hamburger joint, or should he gone back to the deacon and tried to help him? What he said was not wrong, probably. But the point is, where he was talking about it and what he was saying was at the right place. That's not going to do any good. That's just going to bring hurt. Well, there's a time and a proper place to how the things said that are said. The tongue is a fire. The tongue has done a lot of harm, a lot of hurt. But on the other side of it, it's done a lot of good too, hasn't it? You couldn't couldn't preach without being able to talk, could you? You couldn't tell anybody about the Lord unless you could talk. You might write some notes and tell them some things, but it'd be hard to explain much to somebody without being able to talk. So the tongue can be a good thing if we just keep it in control. David said here in Psalm 39, I said, I will take heed to my ways, that I sin not with my tongue. I will keep my mouth with a bridle while the wicked is before me. See, David said there's a time. There's a time to talk about things. There's a place to talk about things. There's a time when it's proper. I say this probably with all of us. There's times and things in your family that maybe you do well to talk about, maybe you need to talk about. Things need to be discussed. A lot of it ought to be kept back to family. It's not everybody else's business. There'll be times, and has been times, and will be times. Right here at Stony Point Church, there'll be issues at Stony Point's business that needs to be talked about. Not necessarily something to be boasted about. Sometimes it won't be things that be pleasant to be talked about. It needs to be talked about here and left here. There's lots of things that's not everybody else's business. I go back to the book of 2 Samuel with you just a moment, chapter 1. And what's taken place in 2 Samuel, King Saul has died in battle. Not only King Saul, but his son and many of the soldiers. Israel has faced a defeat at the hand of the Philistines. And remember, the children of Israel, when they obeyed God and walked with God, they were not supposed to have faced defeat. That was not supposed to have been the case with them. But now they have. And their king has been killed. David made a statement about him that Saul died as though he had not been anointed with oil. Whenever God anointed one, he was not supposed to face defeat. He was not supposed to die in a battle or die in a shameful way if he walked with God. There's many of the kings of Israel, if you go back and read, they lived their life and they served God, they pleased God, and come to the place at the end of their life, they were buried with their fathers and with the kings. Evidently, the burying place to the king. Some of those men lived were such wicked men, and their kingship was so, I guess, wretched would be the right term, that even the people after they died didn't bury them with the king. They buried them in some other cemetery somewhere. I mean, they didn't have honor there. Well, that was something, if they walked with God, it was a different thing with them. Well, Saul, if you remember, he walked contrary to God. He didn't listen to God. And David made a statement, I remind you again, that he had died as though he had not been anointed with oil. And as David discussed this, let me drop to verse 17, and I'll read 2 or 3 verses here that maybe I don't have to read. And David lamented with this lamentation over Saul and over Jonathan his son. And he bade them teach the children of Judah the use of the bow. Behold, it is written in the book of Jasher, the beauty of Israel is slain upon thy high places. How are the mighty fallen? David said this was not supposed to have been. He said the beauty of Israel has fallen. It's been slain in the high places. And he said, tell it not in Gath. All these people gathered together. He said, don't tell it in Gath. Gath was one of the cities of the Philistines. The Philistines is the one that had defeated the children of Israel. David said, don't walk down there telling it's the truth, but don't tell it there. Publish it not in the streets of Ascalon. Ascalon was another city of the Philistines. He said this, lest the daughters of the Philistines rejoice, lest the daughters of the uncircumcised triumph. He said they'd be encouraged even to walk against us in a greater way. if they do our fault, our shortcomings and our failures, not where we fall short. He said, don't do that. Don't go tell it there. There's not a family anywhere that have something on different occasions. It's probably not pleasant to deal with and pleasant to talk about. What you do with it, you deal with it where it's supposed to be dealt with, and you take care of it there. And it's not to be published out everywhere else. It's nobody else's business. And if it's church business, it's not to be published somewhere else. It's to be left there, because why put a sword in the hands of people that want to destroy you and give them the edge to destroy you, but give them ammunition to destroy you with? I want to do that. Don't just willing to do that. But if we're not careful, we may do that. We have the tendencies. So David said he would set a guard in his mouth. He'd bridle his tongue that he wouldn't do that. And I think that's something that we all need to do. Not only would David do that himself, let me go to a couple of the passages related to David in this. Turn with me, if you will, to Psalm 19. And here's where our help is going to come from with this. He said, let the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable in thy sight, O Lord, my strength and my redeemer. What David's saying here in his prayer is saying, let me, in everything I say, let it be according to your word, O Lord. Even what I meditate on in my heart and mind, let it be acceptable in thy sight. What if we stopped and took time with everything we said and all our thoughts and weigh it out and see if it's acceptable before God? It'd solve a lot of problems in our life, wouldn't it? I mean, it would save us a lot of trouble. He said, O Lord, my strength and my redeemer. Psalm 141, in verse 3, he said, set a watch, O Lord, before my mouth. Keep the door of my lips. Lord, you set a watch at my mouth. Lord, you help me with this. Well, this is something I think we'd all have to ask the Lord every day to help us with. Because of what we are and the dangers that exist there, because of the nature we have and what the danger of our tongue. In Psalms, we go to Psalm 52 with you just a second. David used a statement there that I thought about a lot of times. I don't know if I can put everything in this in total perspective, but it means something to me, something I see there. He said, thy tongue deviseth mischiefs. Your tongue devises mischief like a sharp razor working deceitfully. When I look at that and think about it, let me tell you what I think I see there. You take a sharp razor. What if you're in a fight with someone and you really want to cut them bad, but you're going to cut them that razor? You make a swipe at them. How bad are you going to cut them? Are you going to cut an artery? Are you going to cut a ligament? You just don't nip the skin? What are you going to do? Or if you fall on that razor, how bad is it going to hurt you? Just when we look at a razor, in David's day, you was probably talking about something near like our straight razor you were, one of these safety razors we're talking about. You probably talk about something totally different. But you imagine that. And what he's saying is, you didn't maybe intend for the danger to be there. Or maybe it worked out and went a lot further than you ever intended for it to. I'll go back and I'm reminded of something I heard years ago. It kind of stuck in my mind. From what I heard, it was the truth. There was a man kind of got upset with another fellow there at church with him. And really they got placed somehow. They were at odds with each other. And this fellow, I guess, just to do him hurt. Really told a lie on him. Really told her. He told about a fellow trying to run around with other women. News got around, and next thing you know, everybody heard about it. And the fellow wound up, he said he kept his family together, but had caused him some problems, and finally got it all settled and moved on. He didn't know where it all started. He knew what was told, and he never did know the details of it, at least for a long, long time. And this man had a job. He worked in a fire tower. And back in the time, whenever the forestry people had towers, had somebody to man those things. And I've been in them before and kind of looked around what was there. And even talked to the fellow about how all that stuff worked. I'll leave that be, we won't get into that too much. But I could kind of relate to what I heard. He said, this fellow had done all this, has told all of it, realized it brought a lot of hurt. In due time, he come to a place that he really wanted to make it right. And he went to work one day with a man working. The man was manning one of those fire towers. And I got there, and he come there, climbed up in the fire tower where the fellow was, and told him, he said, the hurt you had a few years ago, he said, I'm the fellow that started that. He said, I know I done you a lot of hurt. He said, I'm sorry, but I wish I hadn't. But he said, all I can do is come ask you to forgive me. And pray for me, I don't do something like that anymore. The fellow sat there and he said, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to forgive you, but don't you do me a favor first. He had no feather pillow he was there sitting on. And he took that feather pillow and cut the thing open. It was a windy day. He shook all them feathers out of that fire towel. Just watched them blow down through there. He said, you go get every one of them feathers for me and bring them back. He said, I'm going to forgive you. That man looked at it and said, there's no way I can ever gather all them feathers back up. He said, I knew you could. I'm going to forgive you anyhow. But he said also, when you told what you told, you had no idea where it would go, or how far it would go, and how much hurt would be done. It worked deceitfully, didn't it? It didn't have a clue. When he told all that, he didn't intend for it to do the harm it did. It didn't intend for it to bring about that much harm. Well, this thing is true with us. You tell something, you don't know where it's going. You don't know where it's going to stop. I'm going to get back to James in a moment, but I heard something some years ago. I don't remember just when. And I kind of jotted it down. And I may not have it exactly like it was told or the way I heard it, but I think I got the gist of it here. And I'll just listen to it and think about how real it sounds. As I read it, I hope I get that part across. Is kind of something that happened between two girls, two ladies or something, and one of them Susie. And this other come this one, and she said, look, told the other, said, look, Susie told me that you told me that you told her that secret that I told you not to tell her. Susie told me that you told her that secret that I told you not to tell her. The response is from this other lady, she said, yeah, that lady can't keep anything. You tell her. That I told her not to tell you, I told her. And then the response back to the first lady was something to this effect, well, I told Susie I wouldn't tell you that she told me. So don't tell her that I did. That sounds about like gossip, doesn't it? So what the point of that is, I guess, when you tell somebody something, you don't know where it's going to go. And if you have a secret, you want to keep a secret, let me tell you how to keep it a secret. You don't tell nobody. If two people know it, you don't have a secret. It's not a secret anymore. Because most likely, if two people know it, there's probably more than two that know it. It's probably a lot further than probably what you thought about it. And with it, we have a tendency, all of us, and we talk about others, but this is pretty much common to us all. Something can be told, and when you tell it, if you're not careful, you slant it just a little bit, or add a little to it, or take a little from it, to make it kind of sound like you wanted it to sound. You know, all of us kind of have a tendency for that. I may as well tell you that. We all have a little tendency for that. And I guess kind of the way this thing out, I remember I'd heard something about maybe telling different people different things, how far it could go and how different it would get. And I remember back teaching school, I tried it 2 or 3 different times. We talked about some of this in class. And maybe have 30 students in class, maybe 4 or 5 rows of seats, whatever you might have. And you can tell this first person on this front seat will whisper something in their ear. I don't care if you tell them the John Deere's green. Let them tell the next one behind them. And tell every one of them, let every one of them pass that word on until you get this last student back over here that's going around the classroom. And by the time you do, it won't be nothing like what you told this person. It will have changed entirely before you get it through 30 people's mind. Well, we said, well, that people shouldn't do that. But that's the way we do it. Have to keep that in mind. That's part of the tongue. We need to try to maybe do it different from that, but that's still kind of the way we are. And it's the way we do things. Let me get back to James. Chapter 3, and read. I'm going to read some other verses, try to come to a close here in a minute. Concerning our tongue. Behold, we put bits in the horse's mouth. Just don't you look at that bit for just a moment. And then the next verse is going to talk about the ship or the helm that carries it, directs it, makes it go where it needs to go. I think the point he's making here is the horse is controlled with a mighty, he's totally controlled by a mighty little thing. That's the bit that's in his mouth. A 1,200-pound horse, if you got a bit in his mouth with a rope on it, you pretty well have control of it, don't you? If you don't have the bit there, you don't have too much control unless he's just awfully gentle and wants to be controlled. So he said, behold, we put bits in the horse's mouth. They obey us, and we turn about their whole body. Behold, also the ships, though they be so great, and are driven of fierce winds, yet they're turned about with a very small helm, whithersoever the governor listeth. These ships that are out at sea, I don't know what those things weigh. It's in hundreds of thousands of tons. But they tell me that probably the rudder on the thing, the helm, probably weighs less than 1% what the ship weighs. 0.5% bigger, smaller It's not, it lacks it's only 1% big as the rest of the ship. Not that much. I think that's an exaggeration. And yet it controls it, makes it go small little thing. Even so the tongue, goes to the next statement made. Even so the tongue is a little member, and it boasteth great things. Behold, how great a matter a little fire kindleth. Look at the tongue, it's a little member. But boy, it boasts great things and does big things. He said here, behold, how great a matter a little fire kindleth. The tongue is a fire. Oh, it's winter now, but you wait till next spring, about March. And I'll just make a suggestion here, and I believe it's the truth. You wait in March about one windy day when it's real, real dry. If you'll give somebody a 5-minute start and let them just go down the road lighting fires, give them a 5. That thing will burn and go, and you can't get it stopped. Well, the point, where you stay at? There's this is it's just one of the truths. It's what the Bible tells us about it. It's like a fire. You start a There was a man, they later caught up with him for whatever reason. He was lighting fire. Wound up going to, igniting. And rather than fire coming from the ground, it's fire going to the top of the trees. And then what it does, it drops all the embers and all the sparks and whatever on the ground, and it's lighting everything under it. But the ground fire goes ahead of the ground fire. The fire department folks were, and I think it would have still burned, but about the time it got there, the wind changed and let it all go. That's the way it is with our tongue. When we start something, where does it go? Where does the problems come from? Where does it is on fire of the courts of nature, and is set on fire of hell. For every kind of beast, and of birds, and of serpents, and of things in the sea, is tamed, and hath been tamed of mankind. Man's tamed about everything you could imagine, but the tongue can no man tame. It is an unruly evil, full of deadly poison. The tongue we can't tame. We can't tame it. We've tried. We can control it to some extent. I'll tell you what the best thing I can tell us is, I'm talking to me, and put your eye on you. We can shut it up in that mouth and keep it shut, and it won't do much damage. I heard a statement made about our mouth and tongue. It kind of stands out. I just tossed it out for what it's worth. It said, be careful with your tongue. It's an awful slippery place. It's in a wet place. Be careful, you let it slip. Your tongue is in a wet place. Now be careful or it'll slip. It's the truth, isn't it? Be careful. That tongue will get away from you. Boy, let something happen. It's easy to say something right off the bat. Add to it, take away from it, or whatever. But that's true with all of them. Every day. I'll come back and look at some of what David said. Lord, help me every day. Set a guard in my mouth. Even help in my meditations on the things of you. That's where we need to be. We can't control all this, so they'll get away from you. It's just simply our nature. And all of us have a tendency for that. Every one of us. It's not just some of us, but all of us. It's just simply part of who we are. And that's why whenever the Bible was written 2,000 years ago, it still stands. It's still good today. It's fresh and new as ever was, because we still have the same old problems now they had then. We have to be very careful of that. We'll come to a close, ask for a verse or song, give you opportunity to stand. If you have something on your heart, you feel free to make it known while we sing.